give us their presentations backstage.
Good evening, everyone. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers to give me the opportunity to present here some topic which is very important, relevant and pertinent in the present scenario due to its increasing prevalence of heart failure per se as a disease and the comorbidities which lead on to heart failure. Let it be coronary artery disease, hypertension, uncontrolled hypertension, obesity, the obstructive sleep apnea, some unusual issues like obstructive sleep apnea, because it is not just the heart failure which occurs due to the decreased ejection fraction. There is a terminology which is called heart failure with preserved ejection fraction as well. So it is not necessary for a patient to go into heart failure for that the ejection fraction should be low. So it is as equivalent to the mortality of heart failure with preserved ejection fraction is equivalent to that of heart failure with the reduced ejection fraction. So my topic is just to highlight some of the points where you will not find the causes of heart failure like not easily picked up. So we just label those patients as heart failure of whatever origin or idiopathic causes. It is not always possible to find out the reason for heart failure, especially so when you see a patient who is at a lower risk, relatively younger patient coming to you with heart failure etiologies, and you do evaluation and you find the ejection fraction is reduced and there is some sort of family history. Sometimes it is not there, it could be genetic or idiopathic, and you label like that, and patients continue to go on with the guideline directed mediated therapy of heart failure, and the etiology is not found. So I'll be just highlighting some of the important causes by giving examples, the real cases which we have seen, which we have come across while during our practices. So heart failure is basically a clinical syndrome. It's a clinical diagnosis, patient coming to you in the emergency or the OPD setting with symptoms of dyspnea, and you try to evaluate, go with the ECG, X-ray, echo, BNP, and it's a syndrome which involves the multiple organs, the primary reason being the cardiac issues. The common etiologies what we see as heart failure are the coronary artery disease, which is very prevalent, then hypertension, then structural heart disease in the form of valvular heart disease, then we have congenital heart disease, and the list is long. And the most common are these three reasons which lead on to heart failure. So let us discuss a case scenario where we will find that it may be there may be some reason for the heart failure, but it was not picked up easily. So this was a 37-year-old non-alcoholic, non-smoker male. He presented with progressive dyspnea of 2 weeks duration, and he had a history of TIA 2 days back prior to admission. On examination, he has all the signs of decompensated heart failure, and this was the ECG of that patient. So in the ECG, what we can see, it's a irregular rhythm, a little tachycardia. So it's basically atrial fibrillation with fast ventricular rate. Other than that, nothing much significant except for the some subtle STT changes. So looking at the clinical scenario of the patient who is non-diabetic, non-hypertensive, non-smoker, we will not entertain the possibility of CAD as the first instance. So then we did the echo. Definitely that becomes the important step to diagnose heart failure apart from the symptoms. So as we can see, the LV, the left-sided chambers are dilated. So left-sided chambers are dilated, and LA is also dilated. So probably it's a long-standing thing which was going on. So patient decompensated and presented to us in the emergency with heart failure and a history of TIA recently. So along with atrial fibrillation. So patient had a global LV dysfunction, no regional wall abnormalities, and the ejection fraction is around 28 to 30%. So we went on to routine evaluation of the patient in the form of lab parameters. Most of the parameters were within normal limit except for the platelets which were little on the lower side, less than around 102, and the OTPT again little on the higher side, which we expect in a patient with heart failure, with biventricular failure, with the congestive symptoms on the congestive hepatopathy. There could be subtle abnormality of OTPT. Apart from that, most of the investigations were within normal limit. So obviously a young patient with heart failure. So what clinical scenario we have in this particular case? So it's a young patient, dilated cardiomyopathy, who presented with decompensated heart failure and the rhythm being atrial fibrillation. So what are the possibilities we should be thinking in this patient? So obviously primary dilated cardiomyopathy, which could be idiopathic, genetic and familial. So looking at the primary dilated cardiomyopathy issues, we have to sort to the history again, go back to the history and find out any history of sudden cardiac death in the relatives, brother, sister, or the parents, then genetics and the familial. So this thing will be evaluated either by the genetic testing, or historically we go for the pedigree analysis of the patient. Or could be secondary dilated cardiomyopathies, which could be inflammatory, infective, toxic, congenital, oncological issues, the drug induced, and syndromic and systemic reasons. So young patient, these are the possibilities where we have not entertained coronary artery disease as one of the cause, or he was not hypertensive, again hypertension was not considered. There will be some other reasons as well which can present at this age in the form of even coarctation, long-standing coarctation undetected will eventually lead on to presentation as heart failure, or if it would have been a female patient, some aortoarteritis would have been the possibility. So those are the reasons which are unusual, but this patient being a male patient. So on further interrogation, he also revealed the history of darkening of the skin color over last couple of years. And again, so as I told you, we went and searched for the history again. So patient's father died of chronic liver disease at the age of 46 years of age. So this becomes, the history becomes important clue in some of the patients which present to you as idiopathic, or you label, or patients are being labeled as the idiopathic causes of heart failure, dilated cardiomyopathy. So this is the picture of the patient. Definitely he's the hyperpigmentation is there, and on the right side we can see the pedigree of the patient. His father died at the age of 45 years because of chronic liver disease. This is what the patient himself told us. So the patient himself was a 34-year-old male with some cardiac issue. So probably we are thinking in terms of some genetic issue leading on to cardiomyopathy. And we evaluated. He has a younger sister as well. So we evaluated. She was asymptomatic, but there were some finding in the sister as well. So we evaluated this patient in terms of genetic analysis. So we further investigated, looking at the hyperpigmentation. We found the iron. We got the iron profile with the suspicion of hemochromatosis as one of the reason, because of history of chronic liver disease leading on to mortality in the parent, one of the parents. So we can see the very high serum ferritin level. The normal limit is 300, and in this patient it was more than 5,000. So this is almost suggestive of, in a clinical scenario of cardiomyopathy, young patient. There were other signs as well, and the serum ferritin, which is way too high than the upper limit. And we went ahead with the cardiac MRI, which becomes the primary investigation for the management of for the evaluation of heart failure. And we look for the T2 star images in for the cardiac, and definitely we go for the liver evaluation. We ask the cardiac MRI, the radiologist, to look at the liver as well. So both the findings were positive in terms of iron, which was studied in the cardiac myocardium, as well as the hepatocytes. So the abnormal, it was detected and it was confirmed on MRI, and it was further confirmed on the genetic analysis. The idea of showing this patient is basically there are some of the conditions which are idiopathic is like untreatable reason. You don't have reason, you won't be able to treat the cause of heart failure. Obviously, yes, you are treating the heart failure as a syndrome. But if you have an etiology, then you should be able to, some of the etiologies are possibly treatable. So this case has the final diagnosis of hereditary hemochromatosis presented with dilated cardiomyopathy. He had chronic liver disease on the ultrasound, so compensated, no esophageal varices, grade 3 gastric ulcer with cardioembolic stroke. So he basically presented with cardioembolic stroke with a history of TIA 2 weeks back. Congestive heart failure, which was recovered, and paroxysmal atrial fibrillation. So treatment, definitely we treated the heart failure. Anticoagulation therapy is an important therapy because he had TIA as well as atrial fibrillation in the presence of LV dysfunction. So phlebotomy is one of the mode of therapy for hemochromatosis. So oral desferoxamine, and at 6 months of follow-up, this patient who came to us during the COVID, just before the COVID, he had mortality. He died of COVID complication, obviously, because he had multiple comorbidities. He succumbed to COVID-related complications at 6 months of follow-up. So this is just an example. This is an unusual cause of heart failure, sometimes missed also, but we have to have suspicion in some set of patients where there are some systemic or signs to suggest some of the other illnesses. So trivial cardiomyopathy and cirrhosis, if you have this combination, so there are some red flag signs for hemochromatosis to suspect: dyspnea, fatigue, cardiomyopathy, cirrhosis, bronze skin, the darkening of skin, diabetes if it is present, presence of arrhythmia, the skin changes in the form of Dupuytren contractures, yellow sclera, and definitely you go ahead with the further investigation with the serum ferritin, which are very high, and then you go for the cardiac MRI to look for the cardiac as well as the liver issues, and then definitely at the end you can go for the genetic evaluation. That is how you suspect and diagnose, and you try to treat the patient of hereditary hemochromatosis presenting as cardiomyopathy. So in European countries, this is one of the facts we should be knowing. In European countries, the HFE gene is the most common mutation to cause hemochromatosis. But in India, northern India specifically, the causative mutation is juvenile mutation, which is an autosomal recessive mutation. So whatever we study in our textbook will be labeling HFP gene as the commonest cause of, but in Indian scenario, specifically in the northern part of India, this gene should be remembered as the most common cause of hemochromatosis, which is an autosomal recessive mutation. So then now previously we have taken up a younger patients. So let us see a 55-year-old non-diabetic, again non-hypertensive female, follow-up case of dilated cardiomyopathy. As I was already telling you, so she was a case who was being treated as a dilated cardiomyopathy. She presented to the emergency with a progressive dyspnea, NYHA class 3 of 2 weeks duration. She was on treatment. She decompensated. On examination, she has the signs of heart failure, and looking at the ECG, we can see in the ECG more or less, look at the first instance. So it's a normal sinus rhythm with 1:1 atrioventricular conduction with a left axis deviation and subtle STT changes, and the X-ray suggestive of dilated cardiac chambers, cardiomegaly, and the venous prominences, and the bilateral some CP angle blunting is as well. Okay. So on transthoracic echo, we confirmed the cardiomyopathy, severe global hypokinesia of left ventricular, ejection fraction was 28% with moderate mitral regurgitation. So obviously we went ahead with the lab investigations looking at the cause of decompensation as well as trying to find out if there can be some or the other reason. So any patient who comes to you as a decompensated heart failure, you want to find out the reason for the decompensation. So that is why you get the investigation, and sometimes you pick up some unusual reasons for some cardiomyopathy. So most of the investigations are within normal limit except for the BNP, which is on the higher side suggestive of decompensated heart failure. So patient was started on guideline directed medical therapy for heart failure management. On further investigation, what we found? So we found the serum calcium level to a very low level, 3.4 milligram per deciliter, phosphate level around 10.5 milligram per deciliter, and parathyroid level 90. So we evaluated once we found significant hypocalcemia. So we continued with the further evaluation in the form of vitamin D, parathyroid, cortisol levels. So these were the findings with the serum albumin, which was 3.9. So this was a severe hypocalcemia. The patient, she was an elderly subset presenting as heart failure with a serum calcium of very, very low level. So So and then obviously medicine people were involved, and the neurology. They have also endocrine people. They advised for the CT head. There was the calcification, bilateral calcification, and on the spine we can see the calcification of the spine as well. So again, interrogating the subtle changes again. So once we found that it was significant hypocalcemia, there has to be some ECG changes suggestive of severe hypocalcemia. So we found that there is a prolonged QTC. This is the previous ECG only. So again, interrogating the first ECG, so we could see that the QTC is prolonged more than 500 milliseconds. We should have taken a clue at the first instance only. The QTC is prolonged. Why this is so prolonged, more than 500 milliseconds? And we have severe hypocalcemia, hyperphosphatemia, and inappropriately low vitamin D and PTH level, and bilateral basal ganglion calcification. So this was labeled as FAR syndrome with hypoparathyroidism, leading on to severe hypocalcemia. With hypocalcemic cardiomyopathy, this is not unusual for the severe hypocalcemia to present as cardiomyopathy. And the beauty of this cardiomyopathy was that this patient was having, once we corrected the calcium level at 6 weeks, as early as 6 weeks to within 2 months, the patient has near normalization of LV function, which was being labeled as dilated cardiomyopathy and was being treated for so many months or years prior to the admission. So the treatment was injectable calcium gluconate, oral calcitriol. At 6 months of follow-up, she had complete normalization of LV function. So most important, just to highlight the causes of hypocalcemic cardiomyopathy. In hypocalcemic cardiomyopathy, the 50% major cause of hypocalcemia is hypoparathyroidism, and out of that percentage of hypoparathyroidism, the primary hypoparathyroidism is the most common cause. More than around 50% of the patient will have primary hypoparathyroidism. So the plasma, calcium, magnesium. So what was the lesson we took? So any patient who is suspected to, so this patient is an elderly, definitely we will consider a coronary artery disease as a possibility of heart failure. So, but we did not find any history which was suggestive of CAD. So we should always evaluate any patient of unusual cardiomyopathy with calcium, magnesium, and even vitamin D level should be therefore be routine for all patients with unexplained heart failure. So that will sometimes hypocalcemia, hypomagnesemia can be a reason because it can develop as a part of treatment of heart failure strategy because of excessive diuresis. Patient develops hypomagnesemia, develops resistant hypokalemia, and arrhythmias in the form of ventricular tachycardia, torsades, ventricular fibrillation. So we look for the electrolytes for the to avoid the complications in patients of heart failure, as well as sometime in unexplained cases we can find some like in this case causes of heart failure which are unusual but treatable. So this was absolutely completely treatable cause of heart failure with reduced ejection fraction. Thank you. So this is just to sensitize that these unusual causes, we should have suspicion to diagnose these cases. If we don't have suspicion, definitely we have number of drugs to treat heart failure in the form of ACE inhibitor, ARBs, ARNIs, beta blockers, whatever, number of drugs are there. So we should always search as a tertiary care center, or even when you are looking at the patient in your OPDs, we have to have suspicion, try to find out the reason before we label that patient as idiopathic, dilated, genetic or familial cause of heart failure. Thank you. So if any question, I can see students sitting, so they should have inquisitiveness to about heart failure, because in medicine OPD about 50% of the patient will be cardiac and they will be presenting as dyspnea, and majority of the patients will be heart failure patients. So until unless you diagnose them, you won't be able to treat them appropriately. So I think if there are no more questions.
Thank you, sir.